Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is the Zen Entrepreneur. My name is Yasmin, and this is a channel where we discuss all things to do with conscious business, sustainable business, ethical business, basically business done not just for the sake of money, but for the sake of wider impact and purpose and love for this life and this earth that we are all sharing together. Today, I'm gonna start a new series on this channel, which is gonna be book reviews. For those of you that know me, I am a book lover. I've been a bookworm ever since I was very, very young, always with a book in my hand. And every now and then I come across a book which just really blows me away and just goes straight up there into the top 10. And this week, that's what happened. I haven't read much during this coronavirus last few months, even though I had a lot of extra time. And I was just seeking for that book, which just, every now and then you grab a book and you just love it so much that you want to take it with you everywhere you go. Even if you don't end up reading it half the time, you just want to have it with you just in case you get a minute to read it. This book was a real page turner, and I've just really enjoyed it. So I wanted to share it with you all because it's very pertinent to the issue of how to run a conscious business and how to have impact, whilst at the same time making your business a tool for self-development and a tool for spiritual growth. And this book just hit the nail on the head. It has such a beautiful message. So what is the book? The book is called The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. And I'm going to share with you some of my top 3 quotes from this book. So what is this book about? Why did it touch me so deeply? This book is a story of a man on a spiritual search, something that I can really relate to because I've been myself on a spiritual search for many, many years. And along the way, he accidentally gets thrust into the life of an entrepreneur, somewhat accidentally, not really ever setting out to run a business. I can relate to that also, but by just sort of saying yes to the opportunities that came to him and just surrendering to the flow of life, surrender experiment, he ended up running actually a huge company. But what's really amazing about this story is that he takes everything that he was learning on his spiritual journey and actually applied that to being a CEO and an entrepreneur. And I think that's something very, very beautiful because we've sort of been brought up with this idea that to be a business person, to be successful at business, you have to compromise your values. And this is a story of a person who did not compromise their values. Actually, they used their values and they used their spiritual connection to make them a better entrepreneur. And literally, that is just like my whole ethos. That's everything that I believe in, that we need to grow spiritually to become more enlightened CEOs so that we can have a more positive impact in the wider community, but also that our business can be a tool for deeper growth. And this is exactly what Michael Singer's experience and what he shared with us, the journey of this book. And the beautiful thing is that you can actually see both of these two things happening, right? You can see his spiritual life embodying his business with a really amazing set of values and really setting him up for success. But then you can also see some crazy business challenges that he went through, including getting sued by the government, spoiler alert, how that actually really deepened his spiritual connection and forced him to really rely on the tools that he had learned on his spiritual journey so far. So I want to read you a few quotes. I don't want to tell you too much about the book. I don't want to spoil it. I think I already, gave you a little bit of a spoiler there. But the overall story of him surrendering to the flow of life and how that impacted his business and how his business taught him. That's the main message you need to get from this. But here are my top 3 quotes from this book. As I said, I loved it all. Whenever I love a book, I always underline. So I've got my underlines in here. And a shout out to my friend Ismar, who actually gifted me this book. Before I read these quotes, I actually tell you also that he has a prequel to this book. Not really a prequel, just a book that he wrote before called The Untethered Soul, which is a huge bestseller. It reached #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list. It is an amazing book about the spiritual search. But this one is a little bit more business related, hence why I'm bringing it to this channel. So I'm going to read you a passage where he talks about his a business task that he had to face that he was totally not prepared for on a mental or logical level. So if you had asked me how he's going to do this task, I would tell you that my experience with meditation had shown me that there were 2 very distinct aspects of what we call mind. There was the logical, thought-driven mind that links together what we already know into complex patterns of thought in order to come up with logical solutions. Then there was the intuitive, inspiration-driven mind that can look at a problem and instantly see a creative solution. As it turned out, the years of spiritual work I had done to quiet that voice in my head. As it turned out, the years of spiritual work I had done to quiet that voice in my head had opened the door for almost constant inspiration. It seemed that the quieter the mind, the more that solutions became self-evident. And this is what I love, being a person who has meditated for many, many years. This is something I tell people all the time, my fellow entrepreneurs who I coach. We often get stuck in busyness, but actually amazing solutions come when we quieten the mind. And this is why working on ourselves and investing in our inner world is such a huge part of my message that I want to share over this channel. This continues, sort of related, but we're going to carry on here. This is a separate quote, my second favorite. Despite all of these outer changes, this is as his business was really growing and becoming, a multi-million-dollar company. Despite all of these outer changes, I did not become a traditional businessman. I remained a person whose spiritual path was surrendering to the flow of life and putting his entire heart and soul into what life was giving him to do. My twice daily meditations sessions certainly helped to keep it all in perspective. Again, another beautiful message here. What I took from this is that, material success can actually really bring our ego up, and it can create a lot of complications. So we need to keep that spiritual practice up, because that is the way we're going to have the capacity to keep surrendering. We don't need to become a traditional business person. We can stick to our values, but without having that spiritual practice that underpins it all, it is quite hard to do that. And what an inspiration that he kept up his practice throughout, growing his company morning and evening. Not only that, he was actually building a meditation center, giving talks twice a week. So his spiritual life was very, very rich. And again, this is another message that we don't need to be spiritual. We don't need to go and live in the Himalayas. We don't need to go and live a hermit's life or live in a cave or isolate ourselves from the challenges of the daily world. No, we can use those challenges to actually force us to commit deeper into the spiritual practice, because we know that that is the thing that is really, the main purpose of our lives, but also is really giving us the ability to do business in a much more conscious and inspirational way. Another beautiful, beautiful quote. Lots of quotes about surrendering to life in this book. Could have brought you many. But this is another one that I think is beautiful. And again, the whole message of this book is about surrender experiment. This quote on the very last page of the book, when he's looking back on all of the challenges that he had in his business. The flow of life had served as sandpaper that to a great extent freed me of myself. Unable to unbind myself from the incessant pull of my psyche, in an act of sheer desperation, I had thrown myself into the arms of life. From that point forward, all I did was my very best to serve what was put in front of me and let go of what it stirred up within me. Joy and pain, success and failure, praise and blame, they had all pulled at what was so deeply rooted within me. The more I let go, the freer I became. It was not my responsibility to find what was binding me. That was life's job. My responsibility was to willingly let go of whatever was brought up within me. Those words, you just wish you'd written them yourself. They're so beautiful, so inspiring. And, we could just unpack this for hours, because there's so much very deep spiritual knowledge in here. And for all of those of you who are interested in yoga, this is actually the main message of the Bhagavad Gita, to do our work without any attachment to the result. And when we really stay present as a witness to everything that life is pulling deep out of our psyche, we actually stay connected and we stay in the flow. We become healed from our own things that are holding us back. We don't need to try so hard to pull out all of our issues, right? Life naturally does that for us. And if we have this mentality, the sandpaper, I was actually gonna only read out that first line. The flow of life had served as sandpaper that to a great extent freed me of myself. then I carried on going because actually it was so beautiful. But that idea that life is our sandpaper, business is our sandpaper. We don't need to shy away from activity. We need to use that activity to make us a better person and to free us of ourselves so that we can be a channel. And that's, in my opinion, the highest calling that we have as entrepreneurs. So thank you for watching this video. Thank you for resonating with this message. It's probably still quite a niche message on this planet to do business from such a spiritual perspective. And that is why when I come across a book like this, I am just so grateful, because I realize I'm not alone in holding this belief that business can be a tool for spiritual growth. And it's very nice to know that there are other mad people out there who think the same. And if you're listening to this, you're probably one of them. So thank you. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, like, comment, all of that stuff if you resonate with the message. I do believe this is a message that deserves spreading. It's not my message, it's a universal message. I just happen to resonate with it as well as many other souls out there. I have noticed that actually YouTube does not have many videos about conscious business, so I believe that there is a space for this here on this platform. So again, thank you for listening, really grateful, and check out the book, Surrender Experiment. Definite top 10, I loved it, so inspiring. Thank you.